It is about repairing or fixing the wrongdoings. It is also a commitment to try and not to do the same thing. That's another reason. When we ask for reparation, if the European acknowledge that what they did was wrong, it means that they are committing, or the generations of Europeans are committing to avoid that they do what their ancestors or their forefathers did to the people of Africa. So that is one of the reasons why we are asking for reparation. And then another reason is that we are still suffering from the stigma of those systems. That is also one of the reasons why it is important for the people of Africa, Africans and people of African descent, to ask for reparations. I'm going to give an example that I forgot to mention in the beginning. I forgot to pay tribute to Mandela. Today is Mandela Day.
Absolutely, we're going to come to that.
I want to do that and I forgot. So today is Mandela Day. We salute and pay tribute to Mandela for his great contribution. But there were a couple of things that could not be done when he was the leader of South Africa. And then today we hear that there is a conversation about land restitution in South Africa. So the conversation of land restitution in South Africa, it is still going on because of the system of apartheid, which in 1913 decided to take the land from the indigenous people and then to give that to the Europeans. So the conversation about land restitution in South Africa needed to be tied to all those conversations we were talking about. The terror camp massacre in Niger, the Eroro massacre in Namibia, or what the French want to do with Niger, or like said, what we had Rwanda too, and what they did. So for us to be able to do that, for us to be able to be effective, even though we are ready, like he said, we need to have an anthology of the massacres that illustrate the atrocity of the system that black people have endured for the last 500 years. So with that is one thing I don't think it exists. Those who are talking about reparation, that's one thing that we need to do. So so that is the conversation about reparations, and then it is also about reclaiming our dignity. So if the Europeans think that we are human beings, the same way they give reparation to other human beings, they needed to give us reparation in order to acknowledge our humanity. So these are all the elements that we put together when we have the conversation about reparation.
And of course, revisiting the past will help to define the trajectory for the African continent in the New World Order. With you, Kikalemo, let's look at the aspect of reparations, which some people, a group of people, have decided to probably relegate without giving it importance. Let's take us now to what is happening across Europe. We know that it is some sort of tumultuous, and the EU probably European countries against Russia in the context of the Ukraine war. And when you listen to some analysts or pundits, they will always tell you that these countries are trying to have some sort of a revenge of how probably what happened during the days, the time of the Second World War. Russia defeating German forces in Rostov in its own land, and you see all of those. It now brings us to the fact that the past is still in the present, and that is why we want to answer this question of the relevance of reparation talks across Africa. And in your perspective, given the fact that you quite mentioned today that probably when such a move comes, you look at it from two sides. So what framework do you think those key stakeholders across the African continent can put in place to ensure a smooth trajectory of the reparations and other diplomatic frameworks that continue to shape Africa in today's contemporary world, using the Sahel countries, particularly Niger?